Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What Happened on WandaVision. Yes, you are here on the spoiler cast. You're with me. My name is Sara, and I'm here with the two most wonderful men that I know, Keith.
See, my trick was to get you hosting the show again so you can't be temporary.
Oh,
Haha.
oh no, and Karl.
I may or may not have been replaced by another actor this week.
Well, that would be terrifying, Keith. Karl, my brain has shorted out. Oh god.
They both
Just
begin
call
with K,
me
you're
Norm.
fine.
Norm! Oh, Norm. God bless. All right. So, it has been another exciting week of stuff that happened on WandaVision. The show is a show that just keeps on giving and then confusing the shit out of you. This week there was a big announcement basically from Elizabeth Olsen, the actress who plays Wanda, saying that there was going to be a surprise cameo. And if you are listening to this, I sure hope you've seen the episode because we are going to be talking about it at length. But first, my favorite part of the show, and I hope yours as well, we are going to be listening to the recap from Karl. Karl, tell us what happened this week on WandaVision.
A lot of things happened on WandaVision this week, as many people have known if you have watched this or you're listening to this, because this is a goddamn spoiler cast. The title there is spoiler, because we gotta go through everything. It's obviously starting things off with brief recap of what happened so far, which we've already seen. And by the way, I'm going to call this straight out the gate. I called it on the aesthetic. It's definitely like Family Ties or the Family Matters
Okay,
style.
let me stop you for a second. Let me stop you because the reason why I'm saying is I sat there trying to figure out what show this was. And then the sneaky people that they are, it triggered something in my brain. I used to watch a lot of these things back in the day, even though I said I didn't. And they put the theme in the freaking theme of WandaVision. And it had me thinking. And I know what show it is.
Uh-huh.
Go forth. Go forth. You're
Growing Pains.
Is it?
Same intro and everything. Yeah. Even the same font.
But the paintbrush thing, wasn't that Michael J. Fox?
I thought that was the Carpenters.
Yeah, see? They did a lot of different things in there. Yeah. But it's definitely Growing Pains.
Okay.
Kirk Cameron.
Well, there you go.
Okay, well, now that all of our brains are thoroughly broken, Karl, continue.
With this aesthetic being sort of that 80s, early 90s look, also I did notice that we broke the 4:3 rule by this being widescreen, which I think is the indication of the late 90s television shows. But of course, story-wise, we are opening with Wanda and Vision trying to deal with the new babies, and as with any new parents, they have no idea how to shut them up. In other words, I want the babies to go to sleep. Even Wanda tries just doing magic, where she goes, "Hey, I'm going to make you go to sleep by magic," and the twins are like, "No, keep crying." So that's sort of the beginning little drama. The Vision sort of at this point has small inklings of there's something else going on, especially when Agnes comes into the scene and Vision does the overprotective father bit where it's like, "Oh, have you washed your hands? Have you done this? Maybe you shouldn't hold them." And all of a sudden Agnes is like, I was supposed to hold the babies. You want me to hold the babies, right? And it was just that whole, like, this is an oops in the script or something like that, and she completely breaks character for a moment before returning to the character. This is and Vision is like, "What the hell happened? I saw that happen." And Wanda doesn't like reverse time or anything. So the next sort of bit from there was all of a sudden the kids disappear from the crib. Okay, where are the kids? I thought, oh, don't tell me they're going to go for the break this early. But no, we have the kids aging into 5-year-olds, just magically. Cue the intro and all that. We do get some scenes with all the sword people and Monica and all that, sort of discussing what they're going to do with Westview. Are they classifying it as a terrorist threat, which they end up doing? Of course, Monica, being the only person who's been in there, is like, "I don't think you're classifying this right. This is more... I felt sadness when I was in there. This isn't a malicious attack. This isn't premeditated or anything else." But the sword guys are like, "No, we're going to be like usual government agencies and shoot first and ask questions later." So from there, it's more hijinks with the boys getting a dog. and all of a sudden, a Vision questioning more and more of the reality that they're in. Basically, this episode jumps back and forth between the sitcom and the real world as things in the real world sort of start coming together. Monica realizes that her clothes that she was in have been just rearranged at the molecular level. Like, she went in wearing a bulletproof vest, and it turns out that the vest that she has when she was flung out is also bulletproof. And realizing, like, most of her gear was, I think she said something like 98%.
He was like 70% Kevlar.
Yeah, so it was basically her gear had been changed.
I would like to interject real quick, if that's okay. When they, like, she shoots the pants and, like, the bullets fall to the floor flat, I'm like, that's not how Kevlar works. That is not at all how... I get, like, the reason why they couldn't, because, like, oh, the pants can't be damaged, and I'm like, but that's not how Kevlar works. Please don't think that if you put on a Kevlar vest, the bullets are going to bounce off of you smushed like you just try to shoot Superman.
But that's what the movies tell me.
Yes, and as we all know, movies are reality, and reality is fiction.
Unless you're in Congress.
The closest thing that we've actually seen to the way Kevlar actually works is in the John Wick films, where there is a layer of suppression of the actual physical casing of the bullet, but at the same time it gets stuck in the fabric, not bounces off like they show in other shows. Again, John Wick is probably the closest thing I have seen to actual ways these things work in real life, because they actually researched.
And Kick-Ass. I remember when little Chloe Moretz gets shot in the chest with a Kevlar. She's like, it hurts like a bitch. And I'm like, yep, getting shot, even with Kevlar, still hurts like a bitch. Exactly.
Speaking about research, we do have a scene in Computational Services Inc. I love that name for the company that Vision is working in. And they always make jokes about him, like, speaking the computer's language, because they're now up to the point where they're using Commodore 64s to send emails.
Out when they showed that. I was like, wait, one, Commodore 64, two, it didn't look like that. Okay, I'll let that pass. But it was
that didn't receive emails like that back in the day. No, but the fact that they're just trying to sort of mix a couple of errors in this worked really well. They do get an email from Sword asking about the Maximov situation, which causes Vision to sort of theorize something, and he sort of re-scrambles Norm's brain or something and gets him out of the reality, sort of realizing that, hold on, Wanda is controlling these people somehow. So that sort of starts his path of, he's going to have to do something about this.
Am I allowed to interject here?
Yeah, go. Keep interjecting.
I don't know. So here's the thing that has got me thinking. He didn't say Wanda. He said her.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things in this episode that hit me thinking that, and especially towards later on, where you're thinking that maybe this all isn't totally Wanda's doing. There could be other powers at work here.
Yeah, keep hearing those series.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think there's definitely something more going on, but, like, we should talk about that in the next part, because we have many hints.
Many.
But I'm just going a little bit further. Like, there was a theory put forward by Monica that if you could find something of the era that didn't need to be transmuted into fitting the era aesthetic of the show, you might be able to get through. So she finds a 1980s drone, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, because I didn't think drone technology was anywhere near that far or that sleek looking back then.
Yeah, me neither.
Like I thought it would have looked a lot more clunky than it really did. So they send a drone into Westview and are able to get it to Wanda, who promptly causes it to crash. And for the first time since this series began, she steps outside of the Westview bubble and basically says, "Go away, or else I will smite you a second time.
Get off my lawn." That's pretty much what she said.
Get off my lawn. Don't you come near me or my children. This is your first and only warning. And does a really, really, really cool thing where, like, she's got about 24 sword agents with guns all pointing at her, and she just sort of waves her fingers, and all of a sudden you can see a part of their brain light up, and they all switch to the main guy in charge. And I'm like, yeah, she being protected, mama.
I mean, to be fair, he literally sent in a drone with some sort of like artillery
Yeah, he's
into her
being a
bubble.
dick. He's being a real dick. He would tell anybody anything.
The guy in charge for the whole sword thing. He is a dick throughout the entire thing, and that's where I think again there's more to it than what we're realizing.
Mhm.
At least on the sword side of things, but that's more like down the track to what we'll actually be able to get. We do get a very clever ad for Lagos paper towel. If anybody remembers Age of Ultron, Lagos was the city where supposedly they found some Hydra agents, and Wanda accidentally blew up part of a building that caused major damage, which caused the Sokovia Accords to be brought into the storyline and everything. So
Yep.
so they said it's Lagos when you make a big mess.
That you didn't mean to make. Yeah.
Yeah,
At first I
exactly.
was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw the Lagos brand, and my brain just went, "Hold on, that's a reference to something." And like 2 seconds going back into the Wikipedia is like, "Yeah, we worked it out."
I didn't even think
I was
of
happy
it.
the commercials were back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm.
I didn't even think of it though until like I rewatched this episode twice. No, 3 times. And I didn't get it till the second time when they mentioned it in his debriefing that in Lagos that's where that incident happened. It's like, oh shit, it's the paper towels.
Yeah, and then we have sort of another scene. Like the boys somehow also grew themselves up back when they first got the dog. They went from 5 to 10 in an instant. So there's obviously something going on with the kids, whether they're real or not remains to be seen. But they do find that their dog has been accidentally run over and killed, and they start talking about death and whether Mum can bring anybody back from the dead, which
Wait.
has me.
Go ahead.
Which sort of it has me thinking about whether they can see Vision for what he is.
Good
I was gonna say he didn't get run over. He ate Agatha's bushes. They were poisonous.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Almost like
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remind all this as we go. We do get finally get the confrontation between Vision and Wanda. Like Wanda actually starts up the credits, and Vision's like, "No, this is not going to happen," and the credits stop dead.
I love
which I thought that was a great little thing. Vision starts getting really angry, like the angriest we've ever seen him in the series and everything. Like even in the movies and everything, he never got that angry. And he's just trying to confront Wanda, and Wanda's like, she doesn't quite know what's going on, but she knows what's going on, and they sort of they're still setting up the conversation when there's a doorbell rings, and and Vision's like, I don't know whether you've actually done that, and Wanda's like, no, I didn't do that. And she goes and opens the door, and we get to see some familiar looking silver and black hair. And in the real world, we get the best line of the night from Darcy, which was, she recast him. And as the camera swings around for the final part of the scene, we see Pietro return, but it's not the Pietro that was in the MCU. It's the Pietro from the Fox series.
Called it.
And end of show.
Oh man,
called it.
First of okay, called it to whom, Keith? Who didn't you call it to?
I was calling the mutants.
Okay, well, so was Karl last episode, so double mutants for both of you.
There was just so much there, so good. But I just want to say, when they showed his hair, I was like, wait, that's not that Quicksilver. The hair was different. It's like, that's not that one. It's slicked down.
Yeah, it wasn't as poofy. And at first I was like, no, there's no way. And then like they swing and it's Evan Peters who played Pietro as Quicksilver in as Karl said, the 20th Century Fox X-Mutant X-Men movies. I screamed. I was like, no way. And now I have so many questions. So guys, why don't we tackle that first? This was, because really then it just goes straight to credits. Why don't we tackle that first? How did we feel about that moment, and what do we think it might mean? Keith, why don't we hit it with you first?
I love the fact that, without reading into much of it, that this, I guess, was saying before, this is the end for the mutants in Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that we have Quicksilver back, but it's not Quicksilver that we remember from the MCU. This is basically, hey, we killed off our Quicksilver, but somehow we got another one back, and he even goes and says, hey, this is my sister. So, and she didn't bring him there.
Nope. She did not.
That's
bring
the
him there
shocker. She had nothing to do with it.
that we know of.
Which also goes back to the whole thing where somebody else is pulling the strings. But she's enjoying it because it's giving her what she wants, so she's happy. Which again is, I don't want to say it, but we're kind of in the Avengers Disassembled again. Kind of in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it what it is, Keith. It's everybody's pretty much worked it out at this point that Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and this is her creation, her doing. It's just that she's given Wanda the power to sort of alter things as she sees fit to make herself happy.
I don't know anymore because of this episode where she was actually one of the participants, and she's like, "Is it okay for me to hold the baby? Do you want to go do that again?"
But
think about how many times she's broken free and been allowed to speak as herself rather than a character. Yeah. More powerful people, she can't control them.
Can we go back and also look at the kids? Wanda couldn't control the kids.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me into my fear, so I'm gonna just jump right in here. So I think the person who brought Pietro back isn't Agatha, if Agatha is Agnes or whomever. I think it was the twins. I think the twins interpreted, oh, he's very far away, as like he's in a different universe or dimension, so I'm gonna drag his ass in. And yeah, because it seems pretty clear that like she has no effect on the kids, and the kids can do magic fucking without her and are pretty cogent about the fact that they can do magic and that she can do magic. So I think maybe they've started to take on sort of the narrative themselves, and they're like, oh, we'll make mom happy. We hear mom and dad are fighting, let's make mom happy by bringing back her brother.
But here's the one little caveat I put on that. When they were having the conversation with the dog about the dog and everything, saying, Mom, you can bring back the dead. We know you can bring back the dead. If you actually look, they specifically cut to Agnes going, you can do that? Mm-hmm. So yeah. I probably put more credit towards Agnes being Agatha Harkness and being the person, like she probably created the twins, which is why the twins can't be controlled. Again, you're talking about, like with Agatha Harkness, for people who don't know, is a very old, very powerful witch. Even more powerful than Wanda. In the comics book, she's actually taught Wanda most of her spells and everything. So when you're taking on somebody who is a more powerful being than yourself, it's hard to sort of one-up the person who taught you. So that's probably why, at least my theory is, I'm working on the Agatha Harkness theory, is that she's the one who set all this up. And as she's realizing certain things, like she's playing along with the story even when she's out of character. Mm-hmm. And she's the one who's behind all the things to try and keep Wanda sane and happy. So that's probably why she can't control the twins, because the twins aren't technically of Wanda's making; they're of Agatha's. So,
and to your point,
but at least nobody's bringing up Mephisto like everybody's doing on goddamn Twitter.
Oh,
I'm sorry. No Mephisto in this. No
it's totally Mephisto. Him. He's doing it. He's in here. It's him.
Oh,
come on,
God.
Please no more one more day. We don't. No. No. But to your point, Karl. It is actually interesting when you realize that every time the kids age up or attempt to age up, Agnes is there.
She's in the room,
yeah. Yeah, when they go from babies to 5, from 5 to 10, and then when the dog dies and they try to age up so they don't feel sad anymore, which, wow, what a fucking move. Let's become disaffected teenagers. Children, no! Yeah, she's in the room, which is, and again, seems totally unfazed by it. I'm like, either your will is super suppressed, like just crushed to dust at that point, or you know what's going down and you don't need to hide anything.
Can we also address the fact that they're not hiding anymore?
Well,
You know,
Wanda's not
Vision's
hiding
like,
anymore. Vision is trying to be more careful about it.
he's like, should we be doing this? He's like, Wanda, did you see? What about this? Are you sure? And he's like, he's about to have a panic attack. And it's like, Vision, relax. It's cool. You know what? It's all right now. And he's like, no, I don't think so. I love that because that's when he's starting to realize, you know, hey, something is not right here.
Mm-hmm. The fantasy is breaking down, right? Because the fantasy is like, oh, like we have to live this perfect American life, and you can't be like a perfect American husband and wife if one of you is a synthezoid and the other one is a witch. But now it's like, oh, but it's fine because like all she wants is for them to be comfortable. So the fantasy starts breaking down, and that's super interesting too. So
Well,
They never really explain how that in comics either.
there's also little bits and pieces as well. Like with Vision, you got to remember he is literally a walking computer who works on logic, facts, and figures. So as he's starting to put everything together, he's starting to become more self-aware. But at the same time, when they do have their fight, one line actually really stuck out to me, which was, "I don't remember my life before Westview."
mhm.
Right.
So again, like it's one of those things of one, he doesn't realize he's died, and two, he can't remember how he was created. He doesn't remember Age of Ultron, doesn't remember any of all that. Even Endgame, whatever. All he knows is the life in Westview. So when the reality starts to break down, and he starts to notice things like Agnes breaking character, Wanda using her powers in front of Agnes without care, the kids growing up suddenly and stuff like that. His computer brain is putting this all together, and it's going, reality something's not right. Reality isn't right. And that's what caused him to basically try a theory with Norm, which was getting him to break character.
Mm-hmm.
So with all this, like, and now I've completely forgot where I was going with this point. But basically, like, the whole thing is like Vision is starting to put everything together, which is the biggest thing. And from what we've seen in the trailer, which was supposedly little bits of 5 and 6,
Mm-hmm.
He's going to try and break out. And when he does, that's not going to be a good thing for him.
Well, let's talk about Vision, because we've already learned that Wanda took Vision from the secret laboratory of Sword, and it was his wishes.
Wait,
Okay,
I will
fine.
say, we saw a video that was not particularly like well shot.
Okay, we saw the video.
All right, I'm just saying that like I don't trust this Hayward person. I don't think he's on the ball. Like, I think he's doing something fishy, and like maybe trying to frame Wanda in a specific way, which makes me. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm just saying, we saw a video that seems to point to Wanda stealing Vision's corpse.
It could be that, but at the same time, my thing is getting to the point where nobody knew that Vision didn't want his body to be used for a weapon. I mean, okay, great. Maybe he had the foresight to do that. And maybe DC Comics, wow, Sword took his remains and was taking them apart. Why are they doing that? I don't know. But how is he back to life? We talked about this last week.
I just want to know how she did the reconstruction of the body, because like I've got the episode up now, and I'm actually attracted to that specific scene.
He was all
in that final bit. Yeah, he was in like a million pieces. Like, and she's not exactly Tony Stark. So, but Keith, just before we sort of move on, just for a little bit of a laugh for you, this was something else I saw on Twitter. I went on Twitter after the show to try and answer questions that people might have. And one guy actually had a theory, or he made a joke of, this is an alternate timeline, and at least we can't blame the Flash for this one. And I went, technically we could, because, we know that the Speed Force goes over multiple dimensions, multiple areas, and there's multiple versions of the Flash in multiple universes and that. What if Pietro is just another Speed Force user and he's really just the Marvel version of the Flash, which means that all of this is just another DC multiverse story?
But didn't we get some kind of confirmation that Quicksilver is not as fast as the Flash? But we did have those Avengers, the Marvel DC crossovers many, many, many times. Who's to say that couldn't happen again?
Oh boy.
just,
Well,
just add more
Everyone-
red strings to the board.
But
That's
let me
too
finish
many
real quick with
people.
Vision.
No.
Real quick with Vision before we leave off the one. At the same time, as Karl mentioned, how did she put him back together? I mean, she could have just hexed him back together. Shouts out to Dr. Darcy for putting that in there. But
The heck.
who would have reprogrammed him so he doesn't remember anything?
Okay, wait. I would like to make a point. So, she did turn, mind you, a Kevlar vest into a set of groovy pants. So, I'm not saying that it's impossible that she put them back together. She might have, because, like, basically her thing is like, I willed it into reality, so I just fucking made it happen. Not to say that that's enough to give the spark of life, but definitely to put the body back together. If that really is Wanda, and if that's what she's doing in that video, I am unconvinced, because I think Hayward is a shady bitch, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't trust him either. He's up to something.
yeah, he's doing
I'm
things.
okay. I'm very much thinking Hayward is shifty, but I think that footage is actually real. Mainly because, one, we don't know what happened with Vision's body after the events of Endgame, and two, it would be highly possible that some sort of agency, especially like Sword or S.H.I.E.L.D. or somebody, would take the body and try and dissect it or disassemble it or whatever you want to try and work out how the body worked.
Would you think the Avengers will let them take one of their own, though?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
weird. I was like,
the Avengers in this timeline are very trusting of the government, which has led to all sorts of weird things.
Rogers is not.
but
Yeah,
Rogers
Rogers
isn't
is-
there.
Yeah, Rogers isn't there anymore. Remember, he's an old man.
Right, but I'm saying during that time frame when everybody blinked out, Vision was still there. He would have said, "All right, you know what? We're taking him somewhere else. He's not staying here." He could have took him to Wakanda. I mean, it was still there. But we don't know. This is the great thing about this. We can speculate about all we want because we never know what happened.
Yep.
Well,
That's
she
true.
would have had to have gotten the body from somewhere.
Right.
That's the thing. As this was proved, like one thing that they did mention about all of this, in order for Wanda to manifest or change someone into the era, like she's still partly in control of what's going on. There's something with her powers that does it. Now, she basically needs something in order to create the other, to create the character, or else, why take over an entire town to begin with? So she would have had to have gotten Vision's body from somewhere in order to use him as the character. This also leads to, Pietro being quote-unquote recast because the MCU version of Pietro is dead, so she would have had to create another version of Pietro from another timeline, blah, blah, blah. Head scratchy, go kaboom. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's very weird that those type of things need to be done. So, yeah.
All right, well, I would like to go back to Shady Hayward because he showed his true colors this time around, where he's been casting Wanda as sort of like this dangerous terrorist, and then he tries to kill her. Clearly, he very much wants to frame this on Wanda. Now, we do know that she's at least somewhat in control, but like clearly not totally in control, and this makes me side-eye Mr. Hayward over here because he seems very, very intent on blaming Wanda. Do we have any theories about what he might be up to, guys?
He could be up to anything. It could just be that because he is a military man, that the higher ups in Sword or even the president of the United States at that particular point in time is afraid of somebody of Wanda's level who can manipulate the fabric of reality at that mass level to be a threat against not only the United States, but against the world. What happens if she suddenly decides to take Westview and turn it into, like, take that bubble and expand it out so it takes over the entire United States? Who's going to stop her? Nobody. So, as a military guy, they're trying, he's framing this as Wanda is trying to be a terrorist because they are looking for a way to take her out, to eliminate the threat like most American military does.
I mean, she's not bulletproof. She can be hurt. It's just catching her off guard.
She can be hurt, but at the same time, they're looking at her from a threat level, and as a threat level, she is a world ender.
Yeah. That's very true. And also, I mean, I'm also getting like shades of Batman v Superman from this, and I'm like, ooh, but that's okay. We're all gonna take deep breaths, and it's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's really true that like she could do it, but she's also not like she's taken civilians hostage, but she hasn't. I mean, to the extent that we know, she hasn't physically harmed any of them, right? But to me, and part of me has to wonder if this got set up a little bit there when Vision goes, where the hell are all the other children? Like, that's a really good point. Where
Yeah.
the hell are all the kids? Now, if we assume Wanda didn't remove them before taking over, somebody had to set that up. Like, there's no way there wouldn't be at least one or two more kids running around. So what happened? And also, like, there's that creepy chant from the second episode, like, for the children, but there are no children in Westview. Then whose children are we? It must be for the twins. And this makes me anxious now that I'm talking about it, guys. Ooh. Maybe
Why
the
is
whole,
that?
I mean, maybe the whole point of Westview was for Wanda to have the kids.
That is a prevailing
Possibly.
theory as well, that the reason why there are no children in Westview and why there was that whole for the children thing was to try and convince Wanda into having children.
Ooh, so spooky.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It has a very what is it, like Children of the Corn style vibe to it.
All right, well, getting back to Haywood real quick. I always also wanted to explore another angle of him real quick. He like you said, Karl, he could be out making a name for himself. He's a military man. It could also be that, maybe this somehow affected him personally. The way he's talking about Wanda, he is obsessed with her.
Mm.
He's doing things that he's not telling his team, that he put a missile on that drone, which I did check. That drone did exist in that time frame.
Oh.
So yeah, interesting stuff. Nobody knew what was going on. And he went in with hostile intentions, not to talk, but to try and hurt her.
Mm.
So there's got to be something else with him. He's got to be connected some way, somehow. Maybe somebody that's in there is a friend or a relative of him, or maybe he's just another person who was affected by. He's another Sokovia.
Yeah.
Maybe something happened to him and he's pissed.
Yeah. I mean, even the whole thing with the Lagos thing where she blew up stuff and soldiers got hurt, like, it could be any one of those. It could be any one of those things. Like, I do wonder, damn. That could be it too. He could be holding a personal grudge, and it's like a little bit of a red herring to sort of keep us off the track of maybe who's really doing
There's
stuff.
so many different strings right now. There's so many different things they're running behind the scenes. It's like, which one is it, guys? Can you figure out which one it is? Because we're not going to tell you until the end.
Can you find the real villain? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that.
Yep. So that's interesting. I would like to draw our attention real quick to a scene that, like, I think snuck under the radar a little bit, but like on the first showing I noticed it, but like I really looked for it on my two other rewatches. Was the scene where Jimmy Woo brings up Captain Marvel,
Oh,
and
I love
Monica
that
makes
one.
she makes a face, and I'm like, here is my thought. Is Monica mad at Captain Marvel either for A, not saving the world before, or is she like, Captain Marvel, space radiation, Captain Marvel, give cancer to my mom?
I think she's mad that she left.
Mm.
She wasn't there when she needed her. She always said, "I'd be there for you," and then she gone.
Mm-hmm.
Where you at? Nowhere near.
Yeah, it was a long time between the Captain Marvel movie, which was actually set in the 1980s, going all the way through to like this is meant to be like 2019, 2020. That's a long time for Captain Marvel to be gone. So
right,
Monica harvesting these hateful feelings towards the character and everything would be very substantial. But I will say this, since we're talking about Jimmy Woo and what he's contributed. When he's explaining the situation, giving the recap to everybody in the briefing room, and I did notice this also from Haywood as well. Haywood actually says no silly code names, no aliases or nothing. So they're actually squashing straight away that they're not going to call her Scarlet Witch, despite what the powers and bringing in the idea of the hex and everything else into the series. They're not going to call her Scarlet Witch.
Not to mention she wears like the original like 80s costume in the trailer, like when they're like doing the Halloween episode.
Yeah, and well, Vision also goes to his comic costume in that episode, which is yet to come at this point. But did you also, speaking of costumes, did you notice when Wanda left the Westview reality, she returned to the outfit that she was wearing in Endgame?
Yep.
So obviously, like, we've got a time frame of this is not too long after Endgame at this point in time.
She could just like that costume.
Or she could
It is a pretty good costume.
It is pretty dope. She's like, I don't want to wear other things. I just want to be what I was wearing when Vision died. You know, like that, like the whole Miss Havisham, like, I'm going to keep being in this wedding dress for the moment my life fell apart. I was in this wedding dress, and you're like, okay, ma'am. I know that therapy doesn't exist in the 1800s or whatever, but like, please talk to someone.
But before you leave off this one, can I also get back to Monica real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if everybody paid attention, but when they were doing her scans, when she came back, her medical scans, and they were like, "We got to do this again." And they're like, "Why?" And she showed it. It looked overexposed. Is that another hint that Monica's getting her powers?
Oh,
because she's light based.
And also, her blood is funky. Apparently,
she has
funky blood.
So that's another hint that, maybe Monica's getting her powers. Maybe not in here, but she will be in the MCU in some shape or form. Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or I wonder if...
She's also smart as hell.
She is smart as hell.
Did you see the whiteboard?
I did see the whiteboard. And also her, like, let me build this mobile super tank enclosure so that I can go inside. But, sorry, I was like, why can't I think of the thing? So the other thing I was wondering is, like, maybe because, like, remember how exposure to any of the stones gives you powers? I wonder if her exposure between Captain Marvel and Wanda has, like, awakened a dormant power set in her because of the Mind Stone and the whatever the one Captain Marvel has.
That's a possibility.
So that's, yeah. I mean, that's totally possible. I was also just like, oh no, I didn't even think of the powers thing. I thought I was like, oh no, she's got like I'm not in the reality sickness where like she's not even real anymore, man.
I also say that Paris is nailing that character. She's doing a spot on job.
So good. So good. Let's see what else. A lot of things happened in this episode. We got a lot of really great characterizations. I'm trying to think if there is anything else that we might want to touch on, but let's hit it real quick. Besides the obvious surprise at the end, does anybody have any like favorite moments that they want to talk about?
I liked it when they were fighting. It helped draw out a lot of stuff that we were curious about. Was Vision in this with her? Consciously, did he know what was happening? Did he remember anything? And no, he doesn't remember a thing. He doesn't know anything.
Right.
He doesn't know that he's brought there. Maybe he thinks there. Maybe he thought he was there on his own free will, but no, because I don't remember anything. I don't remember how I got here. I don't know any of this stuff. So yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad they drew that out. Yep. And going back again to where Wanda is just nonchalant anymore. She's like, it doesn't matter anymore. There's no secrets here anymore. It's like before it was all about hiding yourself and appearances and everything. Are they talking about us? And now it's like, I don't care about anything anymore. Whatever. That changed really quick.
Mm-hmm. Karl?
For me, it was I just love the way through this entire episode that Vision started putting things together. It was just starting with him noticing one little thing. Next thing he noticed Agnes, then he noticed everything that happened with the email, the critical email. Oh my god, it's still Commodore 64 receiving emails. Like just that scene and the thing where he sort of does the little mind scramble thing with Norm, all leading up to that big confrontation and him putting together the whole thing of, I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. I don't remember my life before Westview. Why are you doing this? What's going on? Please explain this to me. My brain is saying something, like everything points to something is wrong. Why aren't you telling me what is wrong? What happened?
Yep.
So this is like, is he going to be confronted with his own death? that type of thing. Like, it's just been, this episode was absolutely brilliant. Like, the acting from him was like top notch. Like, Paul Bettany, like, absolutely brilliant actor. And I 5 episodes in, and it's still, like, my brain is still fuzzled with the idea that we're seeing him without makeup on at some point. Because for anybody who has seen Paul Bettany's body of work, he is basically known as the creature actor. He's always in some sort of big makeup type thing. He was obviously he's been Vision. He was the fish guy from the Hellboy series.
I thought that was Doug Jones.
Was it Doug Jones? Oh, like
they're both very similar looking, frankly.
Yeah, that could be it. I could be getting confused again. Oh, that's right. He was Jarvis in the Iron Man stuff originally. As I'm now going back and so I got the two confused. God, because they just look so alike. It's like
they're very tall white men, like
very tall white blonde men. It's like, what? that are always stuck in makeup.
They're very gangly, like,
Yeah.
I get it. I feel you. No.
But
sure. He was acting his ass off.
But again, his acting in this was absolutely brilliant. Same with the guy who played Norm. That particular scene, I will give the guy who played Norm having to go from that sort of happy, blank, mind-controlled state where he's just joking like he's on a sitcom to the, oh my God, I'm scared, this is going wrong, I'm in pain, my brain's all scrambled, rah, 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 and then snap straight back into
right back to it. Yeah, that was
right
perfect.
back to it. Absolutely brilliant acting. Absolutely brilliant. If that's one thing that I definitely say about the series in general, is some of the best acting I have seen, like character acting I've seen in a long time. I'm a big fan of Kat Dennings. I've been following her career for a long time, and I absolutely fell in love with her once again with Two Broke Girls. And I still can't see her outside of that character. But with this, I see her as Dr. Darcy. So I was able to take my mind out of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give her that, but also, I'm sorry, I used to watch it with my wife, Two Broke Girls. I loved her in that.
Yeah,
loved her in that.
So did I. That was an absolutely brilliant series. But it's like, I still see that, like, in any other roles that she does, I still see that sassy Kat Dennings that we saw in Two Broke Girls. Whereas this, we do have a little bit of that sass, but at the same time, she portrays the intelligence of a doctor character. So it's a lot more subtle this time around. And I see that and I'm like, okay, I can believe this. I can pull myself out of, I know who this person is in her acting style, and I just get lost in the characters.
Yeah. I have to say, I will always remember Kat Dennings for, look, it's Mia Mia. I just love that. That line is just a killer. I have to say, like, for this episode, you guys are totally correct. Like, those are all great moments. Paul Bettany is acting his ass off. Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen is acting her ass off. Everybody's just doing a phenomenal job. The Norm performance gave me chills. I was like, oh, that's so intense. But for me, I have to say, the part of the scene that I think we all sort of touched on, the fight between Wanda and Vision, where she sits down and she's clearly like, how the hell do you expect me to, like, be controlling all these people's lives? Like, it's just not possible. Like, that part where, like, everything sort of, like, breaks down for her a little bit, like, when she's just sitting there like, oh my God, like, why, how can you think that I'm doing this? And you sort of realize, like, oh, maybe she isn't doing everything. Like, maybe she's just as, like, maybe she's just sort of going with it and, like, controlling what she can, but, like, not thinking through all the implications, which would be a thing that Wanda would do. So that to me is, like, a really interesting moment where, like, even she seems a little, like, freaked out by, like, the reality that she's built around her. But the other thing,
well, with that particular phrasing that she put in there, like, she's going, how could I control these lives? All the people mowing their lawns, going out, taking them to their jobs, going to the dentist appointments. She rattles it off like she knows exactly what everyone is doing, which sort of still puts that thing of, Is she in control? Isn't she in control? Because somehow she knows what everybody's doing and
True,
has
but it's not like
influence over some of it, but it might not be that she's fully in control.
true. I mean, but also like going to the dentist and mowing your lawn is a thing that like people do. So we
People
actually
mow
don't know
lawns and go to
story.
the dentist. Well, my backyard needs to trim then.
Oh damn! All right. We will get someone on that right away. I promise. The other thing that I was really interested in was when she confronts Hayward and Rambeau. Um, and Monica goes, like that I can help you, and she's like, what have you got for me? Like, what? Well, how are you supposed to be helping me? I was just like, interesting. So you do recognize that you need help. Like, you do recognize that, like, this shit cannot go on. And then, of course, Monica goes, well, what do you want? Which is the wrong question, Monica! She's got what she wants. What she needs is someone to help her because, like, clearly this train is headed for Crazy Town and it's going to be real bad when it gets to that final station. But that whole interaction where, like, it's very clear that, like, Monica and Wanda have a connection of some kind, and even if she's not aware of it, Wanda is sort of trying to reach out for someone or something. That to me was super interesting. And I'd like to see, if that does actually go somewhere, if it's just another like plot red herring, like they always do. Like they always try to catch me on uh in all those good moments. All right, so as we're wrapping up, do we have any expectations or wishes for episode 6?
I want to see more of Vision becoming self-aware of what exactly is happening. I want that to continue. I don't want that to be a one episode thing and Wanda finds a way to shut him down. I want him to go, you know what? What is outside of Westview? I need to find out why there are no kids here. I need him to be more inquisitive, and I need for Monica to get her ass back into the town. Because it sounded like she was trying to get back there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be a problem now.
I'm more looking for like the outside explanations. Like, I want to see more of what's going on with Hayward and Sword. I want to see more of Jimmy Woo and Dr. Darcy. I sort of want to see what they're up to as well, besides just what's going on in Westview. Like, there's so many questions, and I'm afraid I'm starting to become afraid now that we're about to hit episode 6. Well, we'll be hitting episode 6 next week, which will leave 3 more episodes before the series wraps up. I'm worried that they might not have enough time to actually put everything together and put it as a conclusive series, and we might end up going, oh god, why? When is season 2? Like, I want them to start looking at maybe starting to wrap up some of these plot threads if they're looking at doing one season, or at least start giving us some really good teasers as to exactly what is going on, just so I can stop having this gigantic whiteboard with the photos and the red strings and my brain going crazy. And I swear to God, I am not drinking 4,000 liters of alcohol every week trying to work out what's going on in this show.
I feel bad for your brain cells if that's the case. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Well, not really. I don't drink that much. I don't even drink as much, if at all, nowadays. But I'm just saying, like, I really feel like that meme of the guy that's looking disheveled in front of the whiteboard, pointing at it, going, "Is this what's going on? Is this? I swear this is what's going on. Like, I've read this and I know this and I know where these characters are and this and that. And I just want answers, please."
Just that gorgeous, beautiful meme of Charlie Day looking all disheveled with his cigarette and just the aliens. We love it. We love it. No, 100%. I'm glad that you did not deny that you have a whiteboard full of red strings. Admitting you have a conspiracy theory problem is the first step to a conspiracy theory solution. I really want to see Dr. Darcy slap Hayward. Now, is that a real slap? Is that a hand to face? I think Dr. Darcy is above that. I think Dr. Darcy can bitch slap him with her mind. I just want to see her take him down because he doesn't really get much of a reproach for putting a drone with a missile on it and aiming it at children. Like, pretty sure that's a war crime. To drone strike innocent civilians and especially kids. So yeah, I want to see some ramifications for that, and I want to see Dr. Darcy do it because Dr. Darcy is by far my favorite character. I will accept no substitutions or requests at this time for that. So, guys, I think that's everything for this episode, unless I'm mistaken.
Nope, that's it.
All right. So, Karl?
I'm good. I'm ready to let my brain relax for another week.
You mean
Yes.
you get ready to watch it again? I know you. You're gonna watch it again.
I've already
I will
watched
watch
it 2 more times when we've been recording this.
How many times? Oh wait, 2 more times as we're recording this.
As we're recording this.
Oh man.
Mm.
I did skip bits and pieces because I sort of skipped through as I was doing the recap, and then another time as we've been talking.
Fair. You know, hey, listen, you are dedicated to the craft. I dig it.
You're a
Love it.
nerd. Nerd.
Damn right, I have shelves of comic books to prove this fact.
Just imagine you sitting in front of your laptop with all the comic books open, like, I know that there's a nugget of truth in here somewhere.
Don't get me started on what I've had to go through and reread to try and get to this far.
Okay, we definitely need to let Karl have a break, and Keith needs to go back to whatever Keith does in his off time. Meanwhile, I am back to my underground caves to be with my lizard people. So, if you are out there listening to us tonight or tomorrow or wherever you may be in this crazy timeline of ours, we hope you've enjoyed the spoiler cast and that you'll join us next week when we continue with the thrilling saga of WandaVision, wherein the whole world might explode from very sad feels. We don't know yet what's going to happen. So be sure to tune in next week, and also be sure to check out the episode 5 review that's up on our website. It's a fantastic read if you haven't already, and it also touches on some points we didn't get to yet. And be sure to go to the outerhaven.net if you're looking for anything related to some nerdy news. We got video games, anime, TV, film, books, anything that you want, we got it. We even got them red herrings for you. So until then, dear viewers, we will talk to you another time.